Is not reflective of what we were trying to achieve yesterday. We were trying to provide a completely safe environment for folks to be heard, and for most of the day, absent about 2 minutes, that's what occurred. This will be looked into by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. As I said before, the reason that they were selected is for transparency and objectivity, and they will make a determination along with the state attorney if the officer is in violation of any law. When that is done, we will make the determination if the officer is in violation of any work rules. Once those investigations are concluded, appropriate action will be taken based on those conclusions. That officer has been relieved from duty. He has no public contact, and he is basically going to remain home until the investigation is complete.
All over the world. They took over the police department. The police were running down the street, sirens blazing, the rest of them running. It was on camera. And then they wiped out. You probably have to build a new one. But I've never seen anything like it. And the whole world was laughing.
Hours later, from the Rose Garden, the president's message was just as stern.
If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
During that message, military-style vehicles filled with National Guard troops were seen arriving outside the White House ahead of the city's nighttime curfew. Also, during the president's message, you could hear flashbangs being deployed by law enforcement, dispersing protesters on the other side of the White House.
But where there is no law, there is no opportunity. Where there is no justice, there is no liberty.
The president's action marks a week of chaotic violence that's rocked cities cross-country, which the president called domestic terrorism. Yet, even amid the chaos, some positive images from cities like Stamford, Connecticut, Portland, Oregon, and Des Moines, Iowa. Police seen kneeling in solidarity with a large group of protesters. Even in Minneapolis, the heart of the recent unrest, the police chief seen kneeling at the growing memorial for George Floyd.
Everything that's happening there and around the country is a crucial test of your profession. You've said that. It's a crucial test of our profession in terms of law enforcement. I need to ask you this because some of the latest news is that President Trump, as we know, has had a conference call with governors. And some of that audio has come out and we're using it. And in it, he says to governors, he says, you're weak. He says, many of you should be not showing this weakness. We're laughing stocks. You need to dominate. You need to dominate. I want to ask you not to, if you don't want to, comment on the President of the United States. But is the right direction for police today in this environment to go out and dominate and to show that they're quote unquote not weak? What should the police be doing now to calm this terrible situation?
Let me just say this to the President of the United States on behalf of the police chiefs in this country. Please, if you don't have something constructive to say, keep your mouth shut, because you're putting men and women in their early 20s at risk. It's not about dominating, it's about winning hearts and minds. And let's be clear, we do not want people to confuse kindness with weakness, but we don't want ignorance to ruin what we've got here in Houston. And speaking for my colleagues across the country, where their officers are being injured, community members are being injured. If you don't have something to say, like Forrest Gump, then don't say it, because that's the basic tenets of leadership, and we need leadership now more than ever. And it hurts me to no end, because whether we vote for someone, we don't vote for someone, it's still our president. But it's time to be presidential and not try to be like you're on The Apprentice. This is not Hollywood. This is real life, and real lives are at risk. And I ask the American people to please join with the police, stand together. Let's shift this to where it needs to be, to the voting booth. Pay attention to the hearts and of the people that we elect. And the reason this stuff happens is because too many people right now in this country that are throwing blocks, bricks, and damaging property never bother to vote. So you have a choice. Lift up your voice, be heard in the voting booth, and continue to march peacefully. So the focus remains on bad policing, criminal policing. And let's be real honest, this is not just about policing. It's about society and this disproportionality of the things going on in our country, from education to health to food to everything that we all as human beings hold near and dear. So please don't react to that. If we just hug one another, the only thing that will happen to overcome hate is love. And love and engagement. Let's engage and let's do what we can control, which is our own actions, our own hearts, and exercise without fail our right to vote.
Police Chief Azevedo, those are very strong words, and particularly you are a Cuban immigrant. You came when you were 4 years old to the United States, and you are the police chief, the first such in the city of Houston. So I want to ask you lastly, there have been reforms planned, made. For instance, in Minneapolis, the police force did implement training on implicit bias, on mindfulness, de-escalation, crisis intervention. It did diversify the department's leadership. It did create tighter use of force standards. It adopted body cameras. In other words, it did all this stuff, but it did not work. Chief Azevedo, what is it going to take? How much reform? How many of these, playbooks? What is it going to take?
Listen, Christian, that's a great question. And here's my response from my heart. What we're seeing is not just about the death of George Floyd. What we're seeing is a response to not just police brutality. What we're seeing is a response to disproportionality of wealth and everything else in this country. Let's not kid ourselves. Unfortunately, when good policing happens, which happens every day in our country, it doesn't make the news. Tens of millions of contacts every year in very dynamic situations, it doesn't make the news. We're the most visible cog of government, and when we get it wrong, there's no excuse. We can't excuse it. We have to accept it. But don't kid yourself into believing that the rage is just because of what happens with police. It's about society, from pre-K education all the way up. So please, let's just keep moving the ball. I promise you that the police chiefs are willing to lead. We need police labor union leaders. It's time for them to either step up and be part of the solution, or we're just going to have to get elected officials to be doing what they need to do, which is to do everything we can to weed out bad cops so we can lift up the very vast majority that are honorable professionals and really deserve our support.
Well, Chief Azevedo, we thank you, and we thank you for leading by example. Thank you for joining us.
Stop.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. What the hell you gonna do? Shoot me? It doesn't take much to look on the local news every night and see how many black kids, black boys, black men are being killed with these stand-your-ground defenses that these people raise, and they get off. So I take issue with that. I'm the only person here of color, okay? I am a mother, too. And I have a son. And I care as much for my son as y'all care for y'all's. But my son doesn't walk the same path as yours does. So this debate deserves more time. I'm in Pine Bluff. We have killings regularly down there. Mr. Hunter knows, he's our prosecutor. Now, I don't know where the heck, I know where you are from, Gary. And I don't know really where Mr. Ballinger is from. But I can tell you that for a long time since I've been back here in Arkansas, I have feared for my son's life. Now, he's 27, he's out of Arkansas. And I thank God he is. When you're bringing up crap like this, it offends me. And then to limit the debate too, this is crazy. You don't have to worry about your children, Will. I worry about my son. And I worry about other little black boys and girls. And people coming into my neighborhood, into my city, saying they got open carry rights, walking down in front of my doggone office in front of the courthouse. That's a bully. Do I have a right to stand my ground with some crazy ass person walking around with a doggone gun? I don't know what the hell he intends to do. But I know I am scared. I feel threatened. Just like some of y'all walking around here up in the legislature with these damn guns. That, what's his name, Garner came in here, walking around here with a damn gun under his coat. You can see the damn print.
Senator, you need to stop.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. What the hell are you gonna do? Shoot me?
Senator.
Senator, go to hell. I'm telling you, this deserves more attention. You want to come up here with all these little NRA bills and bills that Alec have and all that stuff. I'm talking about my son's life. And I'm talking about the lives of other black kids. Do what the hell you want to do. Go ahead, but you can't silence me. You got your damn silence gun out the damn chamber today, but you are not going to silence me. Because walking around with guns on your hip and under your coat, and you can see the imprint, it's threatening.